This week's Millennial Affirmations. I am not afraid of the knock at the door. My friends love the paragraph I posted in the group chat. The sick dog I follow on Instagram is going to live forever. My adult acne is not that bad. Money will still exist. Next week,
Welcome to Once in a Generation, the podcast where being a millennial isn't just having 19 in your birth year. It's doing a 3-card spread to decide whether to quit your job or cry about it.
We're your hosts. I'm Chase, he, him.
Liv, she, her.
And I'm Katie, she, her.
Each episode will unpack the mess that is our generation and the times we live through, trying to answer the question, was it really ever supposed to work out for us?
Because being part of the most resilient generation means we process late-stage capitalism by buying a cloak and disappearing into the woods.
This is Once in a Generation. Let's unpack the damage. This week, we're talking about Ren fairs. So Renaissance fairs have become a significant cultural phenomenon across the United States, with more than 200 Renaissance festivals held annually nationwide, according to industry sources. Festival websites report that largest crowds could be anywhere from 200,000 to 500,000 people, and they're scattered across the United States. Those big ones, they could be from Texas or Minnesota or Kansas City. That's just a lot of people in ill-fitting corsets and pleather pants. These events recreate medieval and Renaissance era culture through period costumes, crafts, performance, and immersive role play, if you're into that kind of thing.
I know I am.
Drawing dedicated communities of participants who return year after year. And my place is typically the chauffeur for someone else who is dressed like my two co-hosts.
Chase, tell me, are you a chainmail daddy?
I did end up buying something from Pride that was like leather and chains that I wore to the end of my D&D campaign. So, yes.
There's definitely like a kinky chainmail contingent that I remember even before leather daddies were making their comeback at Pride. Let me put my professor hat on here for a second. So in 1963, the first pleasure fair, for anyone in California, you may know this, started. It's in Agora, California, and was basically the origin of the movement. And then in 1967, the Pattersons launched a fall Renaissance fair with a harvest festival theme in Northern California. So there's actually a big coincidence between Renaissance fairs and a lot of the other California culture movements happening at the time. And then in the 1970s, there's the rise in popularity of Renaissance fairs, leading to more being established all across the country.
But I think the interesting thing about the original Renaissance fair was like it was started by an English teacher. And so it was really rooted in reenactment, education, and coincided with the blacklist. So like there were a lot of actors who couldn't work and she hired them to play these parts.
Well, there was a massive, in the late 60s, resurgence in interest in medieval era aesthetics that comes back on kind of a cyclical basis in fashion and design over the course of time, because a lot of it was just about being outside, playing the lute at a woman, and her not being totally turned off by the lute playing. In the 60s, you could do that. Boomers really got everything.
They really did. It's kind of sad. What was the first Ren Fair experience you guys remember having?
Well, I'll out myself here. I've been going since I was in middle school with my family. High school is really when I started dressing up. And in college, I had the season pass to the Maryland Renaissance Fair and went from my college campus an hour and a half away, actually, down to the Ren Fair every weekend to go. So I'm probably the Uber nerd, also the English major. It just felt like home in a way that a lot of other places didn't.
I went with Nora when we were in college for the first time. She had been before, I had not. And I went to college at an engineering school, but I'm a writing person, and so everyone was a nerd, and everybody sort of went. And there was a lot of bullying to get me to go to the Renaissance Fair. I don't think I've
There
ever
still is, Liv.
Yes, there is. I have never been to a Renaissance fair that like that wasn't in response to being bullied, I think, by everyone in my
We
entire
are
life. And
happy to actively bully you to get us to join us every year. We will do this service.
I went to the bathroom too many times in a barn stall as a child to ever want to go anywhere with a porta potty. I don't even like going to music festivals. I am like, if you find a Renaissance fair with an indoor bathroom, I am there. However, due to the nature thing, I don't think it's happening.
That's called medieval times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which I've also never been to.
What?
No, I've never been to medieval times. I drove past it a lot when I lived in Orlando, and was like, "Oh, I should do that." And it never happened.
Well, I know what we're doing
But,
before I move to Florida.
Yeah, for my birthday, we're going to the to medieval times.
All right, amazing.
My
So-
first girlfriend in high school was a wench at medieval times.
You could have just
Wow.
left it at wench.
Well, here's the thing. She wasn't old enough to bring alcohol, so she wasn't like a bar wench. She was way too boobily dressed for someone who is 16 surrounded by a bunch of old men.
Wow.
But that was also an aesthetic at the time. Like, I remember going to like Spirit Halloween and looking at the costumes, and like medieval bar wench was a costume that you could buy
That was
for,
a thing.
for
That
a
was a thing.
12-year-old. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, but
Nice.
circling back to my first Renaissance fair, I went into the Georgia one with Nora, which is also where she bought her wedding ring. Because we were in the process, we were engaged at the time, we were engaged forever. But my biggest memory of it was two things. Number one, it was incredibly hot. It was so unbelievably hot. And then buying a cow horn lined with beeswax that we then drink mead out of, that I have now moved 9 different times in the years since and not used once.
You got to take it to the Ren Fair.
I forget it every time. Every time. And also, like, you can't really drink anything out of it. It's like the beeswax leaks. And it was a terrible investment.
But
I don't think anything I get at the Ren Fair is an investment. My first Ren Fair experience, I don't remember because I was in my mother's stomach.
you
That's
beat
where
me.
babies are, right? That's where babies are.
Yes.
Yeah, my dad, I think it was my birthright to be a Ren Fair person. My dad was a Civil War and Revolutionary War reenactor.
Which
So-
side? Which side did he reenact?
The good side.
Both times?
Both times.
He could have been the British. I don't know.
No, never. But so I grew up going to like Colonial Williamsburg and Jamestown and every fort that there was. He was originally, before he went to the military, a history teacher. And he went to the military later in life. I think he was 28 when he joined the army. So I always was surrounded by these reenactments and things like that. I think I've been to the Ren Fair 30 times.
Which means that if you've been going to the Maryland Ren Fair most of that time, you would go back all the way to Henry VIII's first wife, because yeah,
What?
yeah. I don't know why, but
No, literally, what are you talking about?
Oh,
like, why
okay.
is that?
No. So this is a thing.
It's an important question.
Do you know the lore and the actors of your specific Ren Fair? Because it's become a little bit more commercialized in, the last 10 years, 15 years at Ren Fairs, where it's just you're going for the ambiance and the experience. But originally the idea was they were doing reenactment the same way that Civil War reenactors were. And so the Maryland Ren Fair takes place in Henry VIII's court. It actually started originally as an Elizabethan court, but it really took off when it became the Henry VIII court. They switched gears. And every year is like a different year. Yeah, every year is a different year in his reign. And so that means that we've gone through like Catherine of Aragon and Anne Boleyn, and I can't remember who we're on right now, but it's one of his later wives. So like and Chase probably remembers this too. It's been the same actor playing Henry VIII my whole life. But I have seen all of the women come and go. Is it Jane Grey right now?
So-
I'm not certain which one.
I
Anyway,
think so.
I think
it
it's
is.
Jane Grey.
I mean,
So
Henry
are
VIII
we-
is doing very much the Matthew McConaughey. The older I get, the women stay the same age.
Yes.
So at some point, are we gonna get some like poor woman who's being Catherine Parr, who's just supporting his like oozing ulcers? Are we gonna get into pissing out his leg because all the tubes healed together?
I just still love your face where you're like, "What are you talking
What are you actually talking about? But
Before we started recording, I think it was Chase said I don't know anything about Huzzah etiquette, and then neither of you elaborated when I said like 3 or 4 times, "What are you talking about?"
mhm, mhm.
This is why you're the anthropologist in the group.
It's
I'm in a part of culture that I have been to now maybe 4 or 5 times and thought I, like, sort of got, but apparently there's so many layers that I had no idea.
So you're not part of the Faire family, you're Ren Faire adjacent.
mhm.
Sure.
Do you like Halloween? You like Halloween, though.
Yeah, I like Halloween, but that's I don't know, like, I'm a theater kid. It's a different kind of a vibe.
But I
It's a,
can't
like
tell you the circles between theater kids, Ren Faire kids, and the kink community and the
Right.
queer community, like, they're
Why are you
all
doing a
one
bunch of
circle. They're
buttholes?
I
all
am, like, the weird
they're
I'm,
all
like, the
circles.
somehow I have completely bypassed this. It angers people. They're like, "But I know
Yeah,
you, and
it
I know."
angers me.
Yeah, it angers the other people who are on this recording. They're like,
I
But I know you. You like all of, like, XYZ whatever." And I'm like, "I don't know what to tell you. I hate being hot in a costume, going to the bathroom in a porta potty, and I hate having to drive an hour plus and park in a nightmare lot for the pleasure."
I think I'm gonna I'm just gonna write this off as you growing up in a cult, because I think the aversion
Yes.
to going to the bathroom in a barn
You've
outside,
seen too much.
right,
I've seen
wearing peasant blouses,
Yeah,
being raised on Boulder as Shakespeare,
yeah.
which is a whole thing, probably is yeah, I'm gonna say that's the reason. Why not?
Could be. So, so I don't have any Ren Fair stuff, as is I'm wearing effectively my Ren Fair outfit, today, which is just this denim trench coat over whatever I find that I feel like is the least rude thing I can wear to show my friends I tried, out of
Liv
my,
is
like, normal
appearing as
clothes.
Doctor Who today.
Yeah, Liv is appearing as, like, a time-traveling, like, mysterious bisexual, which is what I am on a daily basis. So, where do y'all keep all this stuff? Like, is it in a closet? Is it in a tote? How is it
I have a
stored? How do
gor
you keep it from smell are you dry cleaning it? Like, what's happening?
dry cleaning, yes, especially if it's
Mhm.
wool. Um, and then I have a garment bag that is typically used for, like, not wedding dresses where you vacuum seal it, but, like, any sort of, like, fancy dress up, because 'cause I've got skirts and petticoats and chemises, and they're gorgeous linen that I've had for 20 years, and I don't wanna get rid of at this point. But I also wanna keep it away from the moths, so they are very carefully packed every year, and it took a while for me even to pull this corset out for today.
How many outfits do you think, and I'm not gonna say outfits in terms of, like, you can rearrange things as many, but, like, I'm a nerd, so all of my outfits have a character attached to it, so, because that's what you do. How many complete outfits do you think you have?
Currently, I have 3 complete outfits, but I would say over my lifetime, I've probably had 8, that I've cycled through. Only 4 of them had quality pieces in them, like
Mhm.
this corset or whatever. There's a big thing when you're younger, like the outfit like, you just wear the spirit Halloween costume for a little while,
Or a
um
bed sheet
right,
that's like
or a
a
bed
tunic.
sheet, right? And then you
Yeah.
upgrade to the, like, lightweight cotton peasant, skirt if you're a girl, or, maybe you get a leather bracer if you're a guy or something like that. So there's, like, subtle upgrades, and then right about the time that you start making enough money that you can bankroll this sort of stuff, that's when the linen chemises and the wool skirts and the silk corsets and the stays and everything else come out. And then those are, like, lifetime investments.
Yeah, and you take care of them. I
Mhm.
think collectively over I think my purchasing high level, attire elements didn't really take place until 2 years ago when my life drastically shifted and I wasn't responsible for a larger family. And I think now I have probably 5 outfits. But yeah, there's something fun about going to the Ren Fair and just upgrading. each time.
It does feel like you guys go to like an equipment shop and I watch you like unlock customizations because it's all the same sort of pieces.
Yeah.
But then there's like suddenly there's a pauldron out of nowhere. And I'm like, I turned around for 2 seconds and you came back with a pauldron.
Right. Or you buy multiple hats, you know. I think it's the little treat economy meets the Ren Fair is really what happens.
I think that's why millennials really enjoy the Ren Fair. I think that mixed with it's a way for you to compartmentalize what's happening in the real world. And you go in and you're like, there are no cell phones. What do we need cell phones for? I don't need to watch the news. I'm just gonna get drunk with mead.
Yeah, I think it's very escapist. I think there's a lot of external media touch points that always kind of help bolster the Ren Fair. In our lifetime, I think that there was both Pirates of the Caribbean and Lord of the Rings, which all of the Ren Fair purists are like, that's not the Ren Fair. And it's like, okay, chill out. Not everyone's watching Shakespeare in Love and getting into it. So
Is that you though, Katie?
did I get into Shakespeare in Love? Gwyneth Paltrow is delicious, but we're gonna save that for a different day.
You know what I bet she actually is? Like with all the whole stuff that she put, I bet Gwyneth Paltrow would be delicious.
Oh my God, so organic.
She
so
probably
organic.
tastes like an avocado with honey. Like that's all.
Yeah.
Anyway,
It's like the opposite of how RFK tastes, I
Oh,
bet.
God.
I bet it's the
Oh.
opposite.
Yeah, because RFK tastes like Rock Creek Park water.
Yeah, you're gonna get the bear worms, the worms you get from eating bad bear, but it would be like instead of prions, you just get that.
oh no. Anyway, so let me bring this back from
Rein it back in.
rein it back in. So, no, but I think, Lord of the Rings was a big thing. And so there were a lot of fantasy people that really latched onto the Ren Fair. Then you would have things like Knight's Tale or whatever, which, like, then people who didn't want to cosplay there but still wanted to go and enjoy would show up. You also had the dudes that would dress up as Neo from the Matrix and, like, had fun pretending to, like, invade, or like the Star Trek guys who are on an away mission. And then you have like Pirates of the Caribbean, and like pirate themed weekends really took off. Scottish weekends are always huge. You get people showing up in the plaid. So that also took off. Outlander, helped prop that up more recently. Now you have the romanticy faction helping bolster it up again.
Oh, the Akatars.
Akatar, yep. We're going to see Fourth Wing people probably there this year too. I would not be surprised. Witcher people show up. There's always a Geralt of Rivera recently. And also a lot of Viking people, which at some point I will revisit because eventually I want to talk about white nationalism in the Ren Fair. But yeah, there's also like a lot of Viking people that show up.
You left out a big one.
Oh, who did I forget?
You left out a big one. I didn't hear you say steampunk.
Oh, steampunk. Yeah.
I missed the steampunk boat, but you're right. I think the thing for me is that's always so Victorian that I was like, it was at the Ren Fair, but I just like wrote it off in a way that I didn't write the others off. But no, you're right. Steampunk was also a big part of that.
I think another like Venn diagram circle butthole is the whole like witchy tarot card, which I think is also incredibly prevalent in the Ren Fair stuff. And I think is also incredibly prevalent in millennials.
I think the pipeline from being a Renaissance person when you were growing up, and especially if you were like a garb person or like a Huzzah person and you really got into it, to being a witchy woo person now is huge.
Okay, I'm gonna need some terms. Garb and Huzzah. What are we doing? What are those?
Garb refers to your cosplay outfit. For the longest time, cosplay was a term specific to more like conventions. And Ren Fair is not a convention. It is a fair. And so you would have your garb. And
A very important distinction.
it is a very important distinction. Also, you didn't LARP. LARP is a more modern term that I think we can now apply to Ren Fair. LARPing.
I want to do it so bad.
I
I want
know.
to LARP so bad.
I know.
How is LARPing different from Civil War reenacting? That's where I'm struggling.
So there's a really great documentary, actually, I highly recommend you watch, called DARKCon. DARKCON. Let me Google that real quickly. And the funny thing is, it is based in, it's DARKON. It's based here in Maryland, actually, like in the Essex, White Marsh, Middlesex area. And it's all about sort of like the grassroots start of a LARPing community. And I think the biggest difference between that and like Civil War reenactment is it's not historically accurate. And so they're creating a lot of lore and settings that have the same texture and feel as being historically accurate because there's like a lot of attention that goes to the costumes and the battles. But it's, inspired by Lord of the Rings and Dungeons and Dragons, not Union versus Confederate. Sorry, soapbox.
All right, we broke down a lot of terms. I think that maybe we need to explain for listeners and Liv what we just said.
LARPing, huzzah. Where should we start?
Let's start with Huzzah.
Huzzah. All right, get your cup.
Liv so far
Right.
behind.
This is my Renaissance Fair cup. Um,
Mine's got my initials on it.
yeah, this
They
is one
had
of the
invented-
Maryland Ren Fair mugs.
They had stolen the technology to get clear glass from Venice, and they turned it into a mason jar. So that's what I have. Future technology. It's time travel.
Time
Liv,
travel.
the doctor.
Mhm.
So let's say you are at a pub sing, right, or at a joust, and
You know what those things are, right, Liv? You know what
You've
a pub.
taken me to some. Sorry, I got a bunch of ice in that sip. I was trying to be cool, but it wasn't cool. All right, ask me again.
You know what a pub sing is?
Yes, I've been in one. You brought me to one.
Yeah, I did.
and you've been to a joust, right?
You've been to a
Yes.
joust and the bird show.
Yes.
That bird.
Katie's
We'll get
bird.
into that.
The
We'll get
bird
into that.
guy. All right.
Bird guy.
Ren Fair carnies are also a whole thing. So huzzah is the thing when you're toasting, right? So you're at the pub sing and everyone's like huzzah, right? Or you're at the joust and everyone is cheering for their whoever their knight is, right? And he just scored and everyone goes huzzah. So it's like what you do when otherwise you would be like cheering and going woohoo. But people also kind of use it the way like you'd hear people go amen today after someone says something really strong, right? So
Or
it's like
hello.
right, so it's like well met, huzzah. And then there's also like someone has a mic drop moment and everyone's just like huzzah. So it can be used in a lot of different ways.
It's
Wow.
like y'all.
No.
What do you mean no?
So if someone says something really impressive, I guess maybe.
You'd be like y'all.
Maybe. Maybe.
It's just like a placeholder. Gosh, I'm gonna forget my
It's an emote. It's like it's an emotive
Right.
outburst. A kind of yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I always think about, so in Old English, they're in the same way that people would be like, hey, listen up, or whatever, they would start a story with a word, and that word translates literally to what. In Old English, it was what. And so literally, like you go and you read Beowulf, and the very first word is what! Exclamation point. So it's like, what! Exclamation point. And then you launch into the rest of the story. But it's meant more as like an interjection of like, I'm about to start saying something. And huzzah isn't quite that. It's more of a responsive remark, but it does sort of have that, like, it doesn't mean exactly one thing. It's all about contextual usage.
All right.
More Professor Katie. Sorry. At least we
I
haven't
love
No,
it.
gotten
it's what we needed.
no boat facts yet. No boat facts yet.
No.
Do
no
they
boat.
that?
do Renaissance Fair cruises? Is that a thing?
They do D&D cruises.
And
I got
they
served
do
on-
pirate
God.
cruises, which I think are the closest you're gonna get.
A
Yeah.
pirate cruise is so, oh my god, it's too much. Like there's literal piracy still. Oh my god, I can't handle that.
I mean, it's not like you're actually going around. It's more of like a theme night. But
It's
I
like
think
a booze cruise, yeah.
yeah, it's a booze cruise.
Okay, so
And-
first off, there's renaissancecruise.com. How much do we think this costs?
Isn't that a cruise
well,
line?
you're supposed to guess. $7,000.
5
Okay,
nickels.
so this is for a from Sunday, February 8th to Sunday, February 15th, departing from Miami. It is for an interior room, $1,000 a person with no window.
Do we know what cruise line?
You have to have a window.
It doesn't say. It seems like they're chartering it.
Cool.
Okay, that's gonna be interesting. I mean, like, there's like sci-fi conventions and stuff on cruise boats, so why not?
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about the skirts and everything, and then
Right.
I don't know how many cruises you've done, but depending on what seas you're on, it can be
0.
pretty unsteady, right? Like I there was one cruise where I don't think I ever walked in a straight line because the boat was rocking. When I was on a
Oh,
big boat, I was on a big boat. It was just, the seas were rougher. I can't imagine doing that in like petticoats and a big skirt.
Well, wouldn't the corset, like, stabilize your core? Wouldn't that be, like,
no.
helpful? I've never worn a corset. Sorry.
So, corset girls, corset people, individuals is a thing. Some of
Mm.
it's from the kink community, some of it's from the Ren Fair community, some of it's for the scoliosis and kyphosis girls like me who just need to get better posture. But none of it stabilizes your core. It just helps you be a little bit more erect further up. I don't know that that would help on a cruise.
No,
You
I
okay,
don't.
Chase?
No.
No.
No. No.
I
This is
bet
my favorite topic. I have to tell you, I did my ending D&D campaign last night, and everyone was like, "Let's get dressed up, like, we'll do all these things," and then on Discord, they were talking about how none of them had outfits, and I was wearing my outfit, like, crying, realizing that I can't wear this if no one else has any, and then I just packed all my shit up, and everyone put on something from it, and we all dressed up. I have enough things in my Renaissance repertoire to dress a party of 7 with a DM.
But the costumes are I think you're touching on something really important. One, it's family, right? It's friends. Like that
Mhm.
like going to the Ren Fair on your own. I once dated a guy who would go there just to shop on his own and I was like, serial killer alert. But two, on top of it, I think it's about friends, it's about family, but also the costumes are half the point. Sorry, Liv. But like for those of us who are into the costumes, we spend months, if not a whole year, thinking about what we want to wear for 1 to 3 weekends unless we're doing a season pass of a year. Like, that's the only other people who put that much thought into their outfits for a specific day are usually getting married, Like, that's a lot of thought and intention that goes to it.
It's funny because my girlfriend, she where do I put this? It's not that she tolerates it. She doesn't super enjoy it. It's in this weird world where she's found how to hack the Ren Fair. So, like, the Ren Fair has notoriously long lines for bathrooms, booze, and shopping sometimes. But there's ways that you can kinda get around that and skirt. I'm not gonna say exactly what they are because I don't wanna get in trouble and kicked out, but there are ways that you can make your experience a little bit better, and my girlfriend is a shopaholic, and so that's all I had to tell her, is there are gonna be some beautiful things here for you to buy, there's gonna be alcohol for you to drink, and there's gonna be boobs everywhere, and
And
that's enough for most people.
So over the course of time, you've been going for so long. I went to my first one a decade ago and then was probably 8 or 9 years before I went to the next one. Um, as we have aged into having enough money to spend on the Ren Fair, especially as millennials don't have as many kids and we are mostly spending it on our pets and we are never going to own a home. And so there's definitely a lot of, I'm just going to go blow my money on a bunch of things happening there. Um, as that has changed over the years, what changes have you 2 seen?
so I think one thing is, and I have a two-part answer here because Professor Katie can't ever stop, but at least I'm not invoking boat facts yet. Um, One is my spending ability has grown substantially. Which is not to say that I didn't spend a lot of money on Ren Fair when I was younger, but I was doing it irresponsibly. I remember spending, I think, almost $1,000 on my first serious outfit when I was 18, and I did that with my weekend money, my weekend job money. And there's an argument to be made of like, at that age, I wasn't taking care of certain other responsibilities like rent and stuff that I am now. So, like, yeah, treat yourself. This is like a rite of passage as an
Mhm.
adult. But also, that $1,000 could have done a lot for my retirement over the next 20 years in terms of compounding
Now you're not
interest.
gonna have any
Oh, I
retirement.
know. That's right. That was what our affirmation said.
Wait,
Um,
what year were you 18? We're doing the inflation calculator. What would that be worth now?
Oh 04? Oh 05?
so this would have been 2005.
Yeah.
Okay. Before the financial crisis and
I know,
everything.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, so $1,000 in 2005 that I spent on a costume that I still wear. Uh, it's a black watch tartan with a beautiful French linen chemise with French lace on it. So I still wear it, but it was an expensive purchase, and I arguably could have done more with it in such as Liv, how much does it bake out to?
$1,653.
So I could
Okay,
have made
but
$653 on it.
You could have.
but I subscribe to the idea of PPMs, which I attribute as price per meals. I also think that applies to price per garment. So how many times have you worn that in the time that you've had it? And that's the actual price of it.
So you're
That's
not
girl
wrong.
math.
You're not wrong. Yeah, like it is a $200 dress actually $200 if you wear it once a week, you know? Right, exactly. Um, that being said, Ren Fair only happens once a year, so I'm wearing it maybe 1 to 2 because I usually have a warmer outfit like I'm wearing right now for when it's warm because it's a wool outfit. So and I haven't gone to Ren Fair every year. So, maybe half a dozen times. No, not half a dozen, a dozen times. So it's like $100 a visit to Ren Fair, maybe getting down to like $80 a visit for Ren Fair. It'll bake out eventually. I'm not mad. I love that outfit. It'll bake out. Now that I know that it was only $600 and change of interest, I feel a lot less bad about that money. But boy, did I self-immolate myself at the time for spending that money. I was so happy to have that gorgeous outfit and also so mad at how irresponsible I felt. And now I have money. Not enough money to feel comfortable about my retirement, but enough money that I can buy some garb.
What's the most expensive thing you bought at Ren Fair
Besides the $1,000 costume I just referenced.
besides the $1,000 costume?
I bought actually this necklace, which was about $250.
It's not bad.
No, I mean it's more for the craftsmanship than the fine metals, but yes.
I mean, I think that brings up an interesting point that I would rather get away from fast fashion and things like that and invest with artisans who are making their own things. That's why I wear Blundstone boots when I in the winter. That's why I would rather spend $300 for a nice made thing and have it throughout my life than a $50 pair of shoes. So I think that's one of the things that millennials are leading into when they go to the Ren Fair is respecting artisans and craftsmanship. And I think that's another big reason why we go to the Ren Fair.
I totally agree. There's a slowness, right? And some of that's us romanticizing it, a different pace of life, yada yada. Um, but there is like a slowness. I know like if you want the Contacted Moccasin Company shoes, I think is their name. One of the shoemakers at the Ren Fair, they have a wait list of like over a year usually to get a pair of boots from them because they're all just like trained artisans and journeymen doing it in the old kind of guild way.
I think there's also a lot of people creating their own outfits. So you talk about the slowness of life. Like I know a lot of people who go to Ren Fair and they'll either thrift part of it or they'll actually make their own outfits.
A lot of DIY sewers. I'm not one of them, but I have friends who are.
Yeah, exactly.
That is the one thing I have done at Ren Fair is I'm pretty good at sewing and I'm pretty handy and I always have like some emergency something on me. And I have put so many women back in their outfits outside of the porta potties. Like they just kind of turn around and something about my general demeanor and gives I know how to re-sew that with a bobby pin. And I just am jumping in there. And so I've sewn at least 2 women back into their corsets on an emergency basis with whatever we had on hand. And I always have like super glue in my pocket. So I've also like helped with that a whole bunch. I don't know like I don't dress up myself, but like I know what I'm doing. I will fix it. You will look good.
You're the stage manager behind everything. I mean,
That's
it's
it. Maybe that's the switch because whenever it comes to musicals or theater, like I'm always the one on stage, but on at the Ren Fair, maybe I'm a techie.
Meanwhile, I've always been like I was a properties mistress. I was never on stage. So now I'm like, I'm gonna dress up and be on stage here.
Could be.
Yeah.
That's funny. I was never in theater.
But you work in film. I feel
You work
like
in film.
That's fair. That's like
It's
a kind of theater.
Yeah, dude.
I'm not a theater kid. I just worked in LA and film.
Yeah.
That's not theater. Theater and film are very different.
It's
I'm not-
One's
true.
cool and one's not.
I'm not a theater kid. I have a web series.
The thing that I like about the Ren Fair is, unlike the Renaissance, it's very queer friendly and it's
Mhm.
very body friendly. And I think that speaks to a lot of the reasons why I personally really love the Ren Fair. Is it was the first place where I could wear men's clothes before I could transition.
I'm so sorry. Unlike the Renaissance fucking sent me, because it's like, I mean, technically,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, it's better than a lot, but like also the Renaissance, there were some gay people, but it
there
was
were,
technically-
but not.
Michelangelo.
I mean, there were, but like we don't talk about that. Those are secret gays.
I mean, there's always Ace Isaac Newton over there in his corner, like getting hit in the head and inventing math.
But just to your point, I do think, like, I always think, like, Titian's Venus of Urbino is one of my favorite Renaissance era paintings. Art history major also, thank you. Nerding out again, I know. But no, she's stunning, and she's just this lovely, naked, full-bodied woman laying on a couch. And I remember being like, I see myself more, like, body composition-wise in this painting than I do in any of the fashion magazines or, fast fashion mannequins and stuff that I see out there, which also always contributed to why I felt more at home when I would go to the Ren Fair and, wear a corset that accentuated my waist and then gave me a skirt that could accommodate my hips,
Well, it is only fairly recently that we have had standardized sizes of clothes. Previously, everything would have either been a square that was draped in some way or fashion, tied more with the belt. It was just a series of rectangles because you never wanted to waste fabric. So when people see these older silhouettes, we've unlocked my special interest. This is my thing. Is
We
the
knew it
This is
would
how we
get there.
get live
This
to
is
the
how
Ren
we get
Knew
there.
we'd get there.
This is how we get like, no, this is all I stare at. Like the whole time I'm there, I'm like, that's a rectangle, that's a rectangle. Like it was
Shapes.
not until the Victorians intentionally wasted fabric as a show of wealth, because everything wrong with the world happened because the Victorians invented it for the first time. But there's a reason that human bodies look better in these older silhouettes, and that's because it was made for human bodies, not for large industrial machines to be able to be made at scale. Uh, and whenever I see myself, it's never necessarily in like Renaissance era clothing or anything like that. I'm looking up at like beautiful paintings of the Saracens fighting in France, and there's like a weird cat in a corner, like a really early medieval cat, and I'm like, yeah, that's the vibe. That's really more
Are
the
you
vibe.
cat identifying? Is that-
No,
oh,
it's early medieval art identifying. It's
early
like
medieval
when baby
art. Okay.
yes when
Specifically a cat.
No. It's like the era where they didn't know how far back heads went. So like heads are just like 5 feet deep for no reason.
We're gonna dress you up as medieval marginalia. That's gonna be your outfit.
There
You
you
just-
go.
Just like the weird
That's it.
doodles with like too many
Oh,
vertebrae.
yes, that could be
and-
it.
Right? Yeah.
That's the cool thing about Ren Fairs. You can dress whatever you want.
I do feel a little bit every single year like Mulan and the matchmaker with all of my friends who are just like trying to beat me into Renaissance fair material. It's like, no. If you take the bath and then we paint the thing, it'll be great. It'll be great. And I'm just like, okay, fine.
But
I love all
also-
of this.
You don't have to be. I mean, like, we're pushing it really hard because
Yeah,
one of
it's
us
fine.
Because
It's
we're
like all
nerds.
in love.
Right, but-
exactly.
But, if you want to be the anthropologist friend with all of your queerdos going to Ren Fair, that's also totally fine.
You know what the most unifying part of the Ren Fair is? That even people who don't like Ren Fair like the show. Birdman.
Birdman.
Thank
do
you
love
for that
Birdman.
very subtle transition.
Everybody
love
loves
Birdman.
Birdman.
Everyone
shows.
loves the Birds of Prey shows are just incredible, especially like at the Maryland Ren Fair. We have a guy who has been doing shows. Like he was raised in I don't know if carny is a politically correct term anymore, but he was raised in a carny environment.
Why is this your thing, Katie? Your thing is saying things that are going to get you canceled and don't cancel you.
Is carny a slur? I'm
don't
Googling
know.
this. Oh my god. Is carny a slur? Wow. Okay, it autofilled. Uh, wow. Okay. So there's not a lot of information. No one really.
Who actually says carny
I'm
anymore?
on Reddit
I
right
do.
now.
I had a cousin who was a carny. It's a common
like the
term in my family.
So apparently carny is a job, not an ethnicity, so it's generally not cancelable. According to like 6 Reddit comments. Next week, we'll be talking about the 1999 bisexual cinematic masterpiece, The Mummy.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Please subscribe and join our Patreon. Huzzah!
Ah.
Huzzah.